me the two reasons why I always ask train station security to help me enter and exit trains. So the first one needs a little explaining. So when I go by train anywhere, it usually tends to be the doctor appointments. Due to me being a medical special case, I don't have much of a choice which doctor I go to, because not many dare to touch me, because they're afraid of kind of ruining me even further than I already am. The disadvantage of being special in a medical sense. On the other hand, they are always fascinated with me because, oh my gosh, she's so different. How does her eye even work? It's kind of amusing sometimes, actually. Anyway, so go by train. And then at the train station, I'm like, now I need to get to the doctor. And obviously, I'm not having an easy time getting there, because they tend to be in the middle of the city, and I don't know the layout of the other city, because, well, only there for doctor appointments. So I go by taxi. And now comes into play why I asked the train station security for help, because when you want to go by taxi, when you are blind and have a guide dog, people tend to say no. Now, that's illegal. They are not allowed to say no because you have a guide dog, unless, well, they have an allergy. That's a valid reason, but usually they don't. The reason they don't want dogs is because they don't. For many people, it's really that simple. Sad, I know, but it's just the truth. Anyway, so when I go alone, I go there and I say, nope, we are not taking you. And then I ask the next, they said, nope, we are not taking you. Of course, there are exceptions. There are very nice and very great taxi drivers out there, but there are many who just don't like dogs. And so they say, or being difficult for being difficult. I don't know. Anyway, so this I know. So now what happens when I ask the train station security to go with me? You know, they usually tend to be big and bulky and very muscular and kind of intimidating. So now they go with me, and then they go to the taxi driver and say, hey, you taking the blind girl with you? And then the first one might say no. The second one might say no. And then the train station security usually says, did you know that that's illegal, and I'm very much in my right to just report you for this? And they usually say that very loudly, and then all the other people tend to look at us, and the taxi drivers get very nervous, which is actually funny, but you gotta keep a straight face, because obviously it's not a laughing matter, but actually funny anyway. So then it tends to be that either one of the taxi drivers decides to take you, or like it was the case the last time I went to my specialist, they actually had a discussion in another language. Do not ask me which one, I certainly don't speak it. Who of them has to take me? And I know it was about me, because they kept pointing in a manner that even I realized I was talked about, and demanding of each other to take me in a very obvious way with the gestures and everything. And it went to that extent that the train station security guy actually got embarrassed and apologized on their behalf and said, please don't think that's the general opinion here. It was actually very cute, and the security guy even went so far as opening the door once they decided who of them has to take me. But the security guy was super embarrassed, even though it was not his fault. But yeah, at least I got a taxi. Without him, it goes way worse. For example, when I went back, because obviously there's no train station security when I go back to the train station from the doctor, I called the taxi business and said, hey, I need a taxi. And they said, yeah, of course. I said, I have a guide dog. And they said, okay, the taxi will be there in 5 minutes. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited. It was 20 minutes. And then I called, hey, where's the taxi? And they were like, yeah, the taxi driver didn't want to take a guide dog. And I was like, but I announced I have a guide dog in advance. They knew. Why don't they take the guide dog? I said in advance that there is a guide dog. They were like, we will talk, we will just call another taxi. And I was like, okay, go ahead, I'm fine. It's not like it's freezing cold out here and I'm standing in the middle of the night while it's raining. It's all right. Okay, because the doctor appointment was very late. Doctor only has appointments after his hospital work. Anyway, so I waited and I waited. And after half an hour, I called again. So, where is the taxi? And they were like, it didn't work. And I was like, what do you mean it didn't work? I've been waiting here for over 40 minutes, 50 minutes or something. Where's the taxi? I'm freezing. My guide dog is shivering. And people keep asking me if I'm lost because the blind person is standing around in the middle of the street or near the middle of the street looking lost, and it's raining and I don't have anything to shield myself from the rain. There is not even anywhere where I can go, so I am not rain dead because the taxi business said I should stay where I am. So then they said, well, it didn't work. And I said, you know what? You should go by public transport. And I was like, I've been waiting for 40 to 50 minutes. If I knew the city, I would have gone by public transport all the while. Why do you think I've been waiting for a taxi? And I was like, sorry, go by public transport. And I was like, it's in the middle of the night. I'm in a foreign city. And you are asking the blind person to go by public transport in a location they are not familiar with. I'm like, yeah, we do. Have a nice day. And then they just ended the call. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do now? Then a passerby came and said, do you need help? Because now I really, really looked lost. And I said, yeah, the taxi business just said I should go by public transport, but I don't know how. I don't even know where the next public transport is, or if it's just still going because it's in the middle of the night. And I don't have a ticket for the public transport because I didn't expect to need a ticket, obviously. And they were like, you know what? I have got another number for another taxi business. And I was super suspicious because, well, not a good day for taxis so far. But I called. And then I told them the whole story, and the person that was talking to me on the phone was like, oh my gosh, you poor soul. We are going to send the taxi right away. And I was like, are you sure the taxi is really coming? Because I'm not waiting another 40 minutes. It's cold. And I'm not dressed for being drained in water. I was soaked at this point. My dog was soaked. And he was sitting on my toes because he was so extremely cold. I was cold too, but gotta protect the guide dog, you know. And people kept offering to take me inside, but I couldn't go inside because, well, I needed to wait for a taxi. And they said, no, we promise he will really come. And actually it did. But yeah, that's why I really, really need the train station security to get a taxi, because, yeah, having a guide dog, even for refusing with a guide dog, is illegal, means you don't get taxis, or sometimes very, very hard, and have to wait ridiculous long periods. Anyway, second reason why I always need train station security, or why I want them to help me into the train and out of the train, is a very much simple reason, actually. The second reason is to find the button, because when you want to exit the train, you have to press a button to get out, right? Oh, in different trains, the button is on different positions, and always trying to find the button by pressing your hand against all the parts on the wall is not the most effective way to do it, and people tend to look at you funny. And yeah, people sometimes just wait for a blind person to find the button I don't know why they do it. It doesn't make sense, but they do. Anyway, so with the security helping you enter and exit, they press the button for you. And that way I can exit, because it happened to me before that I didn't find the button in time, and then the train went on with me to the next station and I was lost. But with the security I can get out in time. So 2 reasons why I need it. The train station security. First, to get a taxi, because intimidating security guy. And second, because I need to press the button.